Hi there, and welcome to everybody watching for something a bit different today. Ross and myself have been given press access for the first time for This Is Ibrox, and it's safe to say we've had a very, very good day. But Ross, let's go straight into it. Obviously, we discussed the lineups before we came in. What was your overall thoughts on quite a stuffy Dundee United team that had basically 10 at the back at times?
Yeah, well, I think it's a game we've come to see at Ibrox over the years with Rangers. I think teams come here and they stick 10 men behind the ball, and it's up to us to try and break them down. I think it was very much that. I think there was limited space between the back five of Dundee United, very difficult to get through. I thought Tillman done really well with that in the first half an hour, and I think we've seen a lot of good touches from Alfredo Morelos as well to try and break them down. But I think we've just come to expect that now when we come to Ibrox, that teams are going to sit behind the ball. So no real surprises in the lineup for me either. I think it was kind of a natural selection today leading into next week. So listen, I'm just glad we managed to get through Dundee United today and we move on now.
Yeah, as you said, it's something I'm sure we'll talk about quite a lot in this, but Rangers seemed to line up initially with a 4-2-3-1 with Jack and Lundstrom being the sort of two holding midfielders. I believe it was Cantwell was playing slightly more out on the right with Tillman centrally and Kent out left. What was your thoughts on that formation, and do you think that Rangers got the best out of that, and especially in that first half?
I think so. I thought it was quite interesting. I think when we started the game, we were watching the teams come out. I think we felt like maybe Malik Tillman was going to play on the last line with Alfredo Morelos, but I don't think it really turned out like that today. I thought Tillman dropped in quite a lot. I think maybe when we had long spells of possession, you've seen Tillman join the front line, but most of the time he was dropping into space, and I think he was working really effectively. I thought Cantwell on the right-hand side was a good selection from Michael Beale as well. I think he worked well with James Tavernier, and he's very good at covering the ground, isn't it? So when Tavernier goes high, he can help Ryan Jack in that kind of recovery in that right-hand side again. So yeah, I think it was a good selection from Michael Beale today. Maybe something different again, because I think we've seen that it was a bit of a 4-2-3-1 today, and I think we've seen over the last couple of weeks maybe a 4-3-1-2 with Kent in behind, two up playing up front. So it shows that the manager is flexible. It shows that we're going to maybe change formation based on the type of game we've got in front of us, and I think we've seen that again later on in the game today when we flicked to a back three. I think it's just flexibility is good, especially when we come up against stuffy teams in this league. It's good to keep teams guessing, really. That's probably the way I would look at it.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair enough. It was. I think it was largely the way that Dundee United played. We'll come to it, but Beale did say in the presser that he wasn't expecting them to come out, and they didn't really. They just sat with 10 men behind the ball. It was a back five and a back four at times, and it was just so difficult to break down. But Rangers eventually did manage to break Dundee United down on 37 minutes. There was a few chances in there. Couple of Alfredo Morelos attempts that went wide, didn't really test the keeper. But on 37 minutes, there was a Kent ball. I think it was Ryan Jack left it. It found its way to Goldson. I was genuinely just expecting Goldson to play this out wide to Tav, as we've seen him do a million times, but it was something different. It was a really quick ball centrally into the middle of the pitch. It found Cantwell. I thought Cantwell was outstanding here just to compose himself. He looked a bit off balance, but it was a brilliant flick. And Malik Tillman for the second league game in a row scores a goal. But for me, it's his first touch that absolutely makes it, and he just slots it past the keeper. What was your thoughts and assessment of Rangers' first goal, Ross?
Yeah, I thought it was a really good goal. Actually, I thought the build up from us was quite patient, but the ability to play through the lines was something I think we've seen today, and I think we've seen it from Todd Cantwell all game. I think I said this to you maybe late in the second half, that I think what Todd Cantwell brings is slightly different from what we've seen in recent years. Is he is always looking to break the line with a pass. He will only go wide or backwards if he has nothing else on, and I think we benefited from that today in multiple instances, not just the goal. I thought it's a great flick round the corner from Cantwell, but I thought, like you said, a really, really, really good touch from Malik Tillman, sets himself and he buries it. I think we've discussed this in the podcast a few times, or I have. I want to see Malik Tillman in around the box, because I think we have enough behind him now, enough creativity to get to the box, and I think he's that kind of difference maker that can can find the space that we have struggled over the years to find, and I think we've seen that again today. I thought it was a great touch and finish from Malik Tillman. Listen, I think we all agree now. I think there's not many Rangers fans I speak to that disagree with us. I think we need to buy this boy. Yeah, he needs to be here next season and going forward. I think we can really build a team around this guy.
Yeah, that's certainly something I think we'll come to later on. But let's talk about the second Rangers goal in 54 minutes. Again, it's a sort of rare counter-attack against Dundee United. Rangers break down the right with Tav. He finds Kent, who I actually thought when I was watching this back, it was maybe a bit of a miscontrol. But luckily Tillman it fell into the path of Malik Tillman. And just, this is what I love about the guy. It's just the composure. He steadied himself. He didn't snatch at it. He took one touch, two touch, and he just waited to the right moment. I think it might have taken a small deflection to go past the United goalkeeper. I can't quite remember his name. But yeah, he just made it 2-0 Rangers. And at that point, I never really thought Dundee United were going to trouble us. But yeah, it was a fantastic second goal from Tillman.
Yeah, sorry. This mic passing's gone really well. I'm sure you can all see. I think again, I think we spoke about this before the game today, in that if Malik Tillman is playing on that last line more than he usually does, then I think his mentality changes. And what I mean by that is that if you are being told that you are the guy that's going to score the goals, and I know that sounds really simplistic and I don't mean it to sound that way, but I felt he was more willing today to get into dangerous areas around the 6-yard box, and I also thought he was just willing to take a shot on today. And I think maybe sometimes what we see with Malik Tillman is he does take an extra touch. Now, granted, that is just something in his game, and that will develop over time. But I think you've seen a wee bit of a shift in mentality today from Tillman, that he was the one that was responsible for grabbing the points, really. And I just thought all round he was brilliant today, Malik Tillman. I think that second goal sums it up. Really good build-up play as well. Yeah. And I think we did struggle in periods today, but I think you're always going to struggle in periods when teams are coming and they're going to put 10 men behind the ball, right? So I think we scored 2 good goals today. And Malik Tillman was part of both of them. Of course, he was. He gets his double, and I think, just to reiterate, he was just really, really good today, Malik Tillman. And I think he deserved man of the match. I think that went to Al McGregor. And I can understand why, but I think overall, I think my man of the match probably would have been Malik Tillman, even though I might be jumping the gun there.
Yeah, that's it exactly. So we can rule the man of the match out for later on, seeing as we've already got that from Ross. But look, Ross, I think the next interesting aspect of the game to talk about was in the 72-minute marks. Something that I can't remember it happening very, very often, but Tav comes off for Scott Wright. For me, very sensible decision, given that, I mean, again, I've seen that back. What a ridiculous yellow card to receive. There was nothing in that at all. And Morelos obviously comes off for Sakala. Not only did we get the changes, but we saw a bit of a change in formation where Rangers have reverted back to the back three that has been the discussion of many a podcast for the last few weeks. What did you make of Scott Wright coming on? I think he's already been dubbed Scott Wright back, so we'll claim that here. It was very, very interesting substitutions, bringing Scott Wright on at right back.
Yeah, I was waiting for you to crack that joke there about Scott Wright, so I'm glad you got it in. I think you were waiting for that. Yeah, I think for me today that it came down to really protecting the captain here and looking towards next week. I wasn't sure that it was exactly a tactical decision, really. I think Michael Beale alluded to in his press conference there that he thought Scott Wright could come on and maybe cause a wee bit of trouble with his running. And I think we always see that with Scott Wright in games where it's stretched. He does give us that difference maker in terms of dribbling ability. He can carry the ball long distances. So for me, I'm not really looking at that too much in terms of a tactical decision, back three or take it. I think it's just protecting the captain, in my opinion. I think just something I wanted to pick on quickly. I think we spoke about it maybe around the 85th minute mark when he did decide to bring John Souttar on and he put him into that back three. What I do find quite interesting is we have decided to now, we're seeing this system quite often in games, and I think it tells me that John Souttar is highly thought of behind the scenes, because we're not exactly blessed with centre-backs, and we've obviously went through this season with we've had games where we've struggled to put out defenders. So I think for me, I'm getting all the vibes that John Souttar is looked upon as being someone that can really slot into this Rangers first team going forward. So, yeah, I mean, the decision for me to bring Scott Wright on at right back, just I think for anything, that line that you wanted to pedal there, I think that for me was worth it today, to be honest.
Yeah, no, that I totally agree with you there. As I see a couple of people coming in there and talking about it's sponsored by North Face, it's absolutely Baltic. Tommy, the managing editor, if you're listening, I think Ross and I are going to need heated seats for the next time. But yeah, we'll see if the budget can stretch that far. Then maybe the last talking point of the game. Again, Rangers made a host of substitutions around 85 minutes. Cantwell, Jack Tillman all came off. Arfield, Souttar and Cholak came on. I know you touched on Souttar, but I mean, for me, that back three it really, really appeals to me. I think that we've got three ball-playing centre halves that are very comfortable with the ball at their feet, and all three of them can pass a ball. Goldson, we saw for the second goal, the second goal today, I thought it was an excellent pass. Do you think, I know maybe jumping the gun a bit, but do you think that's something that we're going to see next week?
I'm not sure, to be honest. And that's very much sitting on the fence here, but I'm really not sure we're going to see that next week. I just don't know if it's a system we've played enough throughout games for Michael Beale to be confident to go into that fixture and feel it's going to get the result that we need. What I will say is it probably is a system that would suit playing against Celtic. Celtic's strength do come from those kind of wide rotations between the midfielder and the fullback, and they look to get down the outside of teams and down the channels, get to the byline and things. So it probably would be a switching system that might help us going forward, especially in that fixture. But I do understand a lot of people's reservations when it comes to the back three, especially, for example, when at home in domestic football. A lot of people will look at that and think, do we really need three centre-backs on the park? Now, I agree with you. They all are comfortable with the ball at their feet, especially Ben Davies and John Souttar. I think they're probably a level above Connor Goldson with the ball at their feet. The ability to play through the lines is something that I don't think we've had for a long time from a centre-back. They're both very comfortable. So, listen, I think maybe going forward into next season, it's a system we will see from Rangers. I'm just not sure we're going to see that at this point.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. It's all about keeping the opposition guessing at times. Look, while we're on the subject of the defence, there's one player I'd like to talk about in particular today, and that was Ben Davies. I think there was a comment in there earlier on about Goldson getting skinned, but Ben Davies covered well for him. I thought he had quite a number of good challenges, a number of good head. I mean, it's heading. It's not just his ability to clear the ball, but it's where he plays it to. What was your thoughts on Ben Davies' performance today?
Yeah, I think what we see from Ben Davies now is how composed he is, and I mean that from both senses. I think I mean that from when he's in possession of the ball and when he's out of it. There's plenty of times where Dundee United looked to break in behind us today, and he was just sweeping things up, and we've seen him do that in multiple games now. He's just a very, very composed defender. I never really feel any hesitation when Ben Davies is under pressure. I think we've seen plenty of times today Al McGregor playing the ball out to him, and you know, he is being pressed by Dundee United, and he just never ever looks flustered. I think we've seen one in the first half as well where Dundee United were breaking into the box and they managed to flick his leg out back the way to knock it out for a corner, or it was cleared after. I can't quite remember. So yeah, I think we're now starting to see the best of Ben Davies. I think this is a guy that came in at the beginning of the season and was a wee bit unfortunate with injury, didn't really get a pre-season that he might have wanted, and we're really now starting to see the best of him. And yeah, he's definitely an asset in terms of in possession as well as out of it. I think it looks like it's been a really good signing. I know originally there was a wee bit of a doubt around Ben Davies, maybe the fee involved, but for me now we're really starting to see the best of him, and I'm sure Michael Beale is thrilled with the progression he's having under him.
Yeah. So last couple of questions here, because we're going to keep this one short as it's the first time here. So obviously we were fortunate enough to be in the press conference, and what an experience that was. Michael Beale was asked about Malik Tillman in particular, and you talked very, very well about him, suggested that Malik Tillman looks like he's keen to stay here. I know, and again, we've debated that on quite a number of pods, and that there is varied opinions on it. People think that the money may be better spent elsewhere, but for me it's an absolute no-brainer. But it very much sounded like we are going to seriously look into getting Malik Tillman in permanently in the summer.
Yeah, I would probably say maybe went as far today as saying that when it comes to Rangers' priority in this, that they would sign him. That's the way it looks to me. He did say in the presser that the player comes into this, of course. Does the player necessarily want to be here? But he was then asked, has Malik Tillman shown any signs that he doesn't want to be here? And he answered no. Everything I get from Malik Tillman is that he wants to be here. So I think it's positive signs going forward. I think I spoke about him glowingly earlier, but I think if Rangers have the finances there to do that, and we've heard murmurs that the money is being ring-fenced for this kind of deal, I think it needs to be something that we press on with. This boy is, in terms of individual talent, I think he's one of the best we've seen come through the door here in a long time. This boy looks like he definitely has the ability to play at a much higher level than the SPFL. So if we can grab him now on a permanent deal and get a good 2-3 years out of him, and he maybe moves on after that, then that would be fantastic for me. I think this boy really is something special, especially from a technical point of view. So, yeah, definitely for me, I'm desperate to see Malik Tillman here next year. And yeah, I'm desperate to see him continue to play up front, because he done it today and he got a double. So we can't really complain, can we?
That's it, exactly. He's a player that I think it's actually hard to describe where his best position is. He could play as an 8 very comfortably. He could play as a 10. I think he could even play as a 6. I think Beale's alluded to that. But yeah, even if he needed to play as that number 9, I'd be very happy there, because I thought he was excellent when he got his chances. He took them. Final question, Ross. Obviously, the player that we got today from the presser was John Lundstrom. It seems like all eyes are on the game next Saturday. He obviously says Rangers need to put in a performance. It wasn't good enough next time, and we need to go, and that was the words both him and the manager used. We need to go and prove ourselves there. What did you make of Lundstrom's comments in that press conference?
I'm not really sure, to be honest. It was kind of one of those press conferences where he's basically saying the things you would expect him to say leading up to an Old Firm, and that we need to perform better, we need to show more quality. And that was the 2 things he picked out on. And I think he reiterated again that, the team want to show that this perceived gap between the 2 teams isn't there, and they don't believe it's there. So, listen, I think for me, when it comes to the build-up to this Old Firm, and I think a lot of Rangers fans would probably agree with us now, the time for talking is probably over. We want to see this team go into this fixture and perform. We let ourselves down in that League Cup final a few weeks ago, and there was a few things we could pick out from that. Maybe the selection that day didn't help, but ultimately the team did not perform on the day. And you need to perform, and you need to be at your best against this Celtic team at the moment. They do have a good run. They do have a good record at the moment. They're putting teams away, so we need to go there. We need to compete, and we need to relish this fixture. The players need to relish it. It's a great fixture to play in, and they need to go there, believe that this title is still within our grasp, and get the result. That's ultimately it. And the time for talking is done. I think, Kel, we just want to see results now from this team.
There we go. That was a subtle reference from Ross there to end the podcast, which is quite nice. So, from that press conference, it was all eyes are very much firmly affixed to next weekend. But listen, that's us. We'll keep. I know it's a bit shorter than usual, but we plan to bring more of this stuff to you. As I said, Ross and I can. Well, I hope I can speak for Ross in saying what a fantastic experience this has been, just to see how it all works behind the scenes and to be here at Ibrox. It's been really, really brilliant. Just want to thank everybody that's helped us get here. Just to let you know, we will be covering the B team tomorrow. I think that'll be you're stuck with me again, and Scott Patterson, and then we'll be bringing you the live Sunday podcast at 8:00. Ross, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks very much, Kyle. I just want to reiterate what Kyle said there. This was a bit of a special day for us. This is something we've been building towards, but of course that we don't get here without everyone watching the podcast and engaging with us. So yeah, I would just like to thank everyone and for sticking with us really and enjoying everything we're putting out. We plan to do a lot more of this, and it's great to be able to have this access and to be able to bring these things to you after the game. And so yeah, we would just like to reiterate how thankful we are to be in this position. It's something special. We're all just Rangers fans and we're all just following the club we love. So yeah, thanks very much for everyone listening, and let's hope the B team get a result tomorrow. And thankfully, I've got the day off, so Kyle's back tomorrow, but I've got the day off. So yeah, thanks very much, guys.
Yeah, thanks very much everybody for watching, and take care.